Greetings everyone. As you can tell, this is another deception post. Now, you just may be wondering, what does a flea market have to do with deception? Well, this is a very deep topic if you would allow me to point out a few things to you. So, let's delve deep, shall we? Okay, so I'm sure most of you have childhood memories. I know some memories may be vivid, other memories vague. It had to be around 1973, perhaps 1974, but my grandfather told me he was going to take me to a flea market. I distinctly remember my grandfather reaching down, picking up a pouch of tobacco, but as he went to place the tobacco back down, he turns on the radio. So he turns on this old crackling, popping radio station. Then this guy began to speak that he was a syndicated journalist by the name of Paul Harvey. Now what Paul Harvey did back then is he wrote editorials and commentary for news and radio stations across the country. So me and my grandfather, we ride into the flea market and he turns up the radio. I didn't know nothing about the devil or none of that stuff then. All I can tell you is this memory of me and my grandfather going to the flea market and this guy named Paul Harvey speaking on the radio. It's been etched in my mind for years. I can't explain it, but I've always remembered this. So, with modern technology, the internet, I was able to go back and find this original broadcast, and I was stunned to know that it originally aired in 1965. So in essence, this broadcast is older than when I first heard it in 73, 74. I was taken aback. I was in a state of awe because everything he mentioned and he read in this editorial, it hadn't taken place at that time. Listening to it now, many years later, it's like his message was prophetic. Everything that he said would happen has actually happened. So you know my style. I'm going to show you what has happened in the secular world and compare that with biblical prophecy. So check this out. Paul Harvey from 1965, If I Were the Devil. Check it out.
If I were the devil. If I were the devil. If I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness. And I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. Thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please, do as you please, do as you please, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington, our Father, which art in Washington, our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves.
If you're not going to act right around here,
families
be
at war
part
with
of the family.
themselves.
I want to make a scene during Thanksgiving. Yeah,
Families
I
at
do,
war
because
with
if you don't want to be
themselves.
part of the family, then get out.
Families at war with
I'm not
themselves.
part of the family the way you act.
Oh boy.
I'm not part of the family? No.
Families at war with themselves.
You don't act right, you're not part of the family.
Oh my God.
Families at war with themselves.
Turkey at me!
Families at war with themselves.
Oh.
Families at war with themselves. Families at war with themselves. Churches at war with themselves. And nations 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 at war with themselves. Until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. You'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. You'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, then from the schoolhouse, from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing. 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 Keep right on doing what he's doing.
The Spirit clearly says that in latter times, some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. Such teachings come through hypocritical liars, whose consciences have been seared as with a hot iron. Hypocritical liars, whose consciences have been seared as with a hot iron. Hypocritical liars, whose consciences have been seared as with a hot iron. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pain. But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. I am the way, and the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
Well now, seems like Paul Harvey was on point. And I also remember my grandfather telling me years ago that my generation would see a lot. I'm in Generation X. So, the purpose of this and other deception videos is to mainly point out things that most people aren't aware of. So, by all means, you don't have to take my word for it, but just don't sit idle. Read the written warnings that were written thousands of years ago. And like always, keep your eyes open and stay plugged. This is your man 14K and I'm out. Peace.